Hey, welcome to Moms on the Rocks podcast, where we're two friends trying to be not just moms while careering, carpooling, and cocktailing. I'm Carrie from Sip and Shine podcast.
And I'm Jodie from Reality TV podcast.
And you are joining us today over wine and beer.
Yeah, I know. I'm sticking with my Coors Light tonight.
I still totally look at you completely different for drinking beer. I don't know why. I wish I was like a cool girl. I think cool girls drink beer.
No, you know what? I just kind of drink whatever strikes the mood. When it's really hot out, sometimes just a really cold beer sounds good. So I went for the beer, and we had a lot of it in the fridge, so I just grabbed one.
So, I am dying to hear. I'm trying to go back and forth because I really want to hear something. I have so many questions for you. Like, I did not talk to you for an entire week, which was very hard because I had a ton of stuff to tell you because I wanted to save it for the podcast.
Yeah, see, this is the tough thing. We're used to just texting each other everything that's going on, stupid stuff. And now we're like, oh no, save it. So we have something to talk about.
Like, McKenna is driving my family nuts because she's teaching. She has this thing where she always, you know how like some girls try to be prettier or whatever, like in middle school. Well, McKenna tries to be smarter. That's like the thing in their school, is to prove their smartness.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, it can be a pain in the freaking ass, let me tell you. Okay. So she's always trying to reinforce how smart she is to her siblings and me, of course. Like, let me see what kind of questions I can ask you so you feel like a complete dumbass. So she like tries to teach herself Italian, and now she's teaching herself sign language because she got this thing where her and her friends could like talk to each other in class without the teacher knowing. But now she signs to herself everywhere, like she's talking to herself. So it looks
That's
like
amazing.
a combination. No, it looks like interpretive dance, or that she has an issue going on. No lie, no matter where we're going, she's like signing to herself.
Oh, that's kind of funny, but
or
it's
like
very
playing
sweet.
charades with me, and like when she wants to talk to me in front of other people. And we're like, I hear Bailey telling her, use your words, McKenna, like she's 2.
Oh my God, I love Bailey. I feel like she's just like a little mini, like a little Junie B. Jones or something.
Oh, she is. I would think that you, her, and Paige would be in your own tribe together.
Oh my God, Paige cracks me the hell up. You know what she said to me the other day? She picked something up. She's like, oh my God, this is so freaking cute. Or she goes, this is so friggin' cute, isn't it? I'm like, what? It was just so great. So friggin' cute. I'm like, okay,
Paige.
I just
I want
watched.
Paige to be in my tribe just because she likes history. I have like a whole history. Pat was helping me order dog tags for her the other day, but they're like specialized and they say like history lover.
Oh, that's
badass.
cute.
I hope you don't mind me say badass.
Oh, I love that.
Rebel girl. Like they're like, it says rebel girl on it.
Oh, I love that. Paige loves that.
I know she
good
does.
night
That's
stories
why,
for rebel girls.
That's why we were like trying to come up with key phrases we could put.
Oh, that is so sweet. No, so, okay, I have to tell you that Paige, when she was little, she had speech issues, and I was at the public library. Did your kids ever do baby signing time videos?
No, we did Baby Einstein, which now I'm thinking was, I really wonder if they were really that Einstein.
Oh my God, the baby Beethoven one was like the soundtrack of our lives for the first 12 months. Paige was obsessed with that one. But this baby signing time, it was this woman named Rachel, and her daughter was born deaf, and she had a whole series, and then it went to, there's like baby signing time, and then my signing time, whatever. But it had all these songs, how you do the different signs and the different, words and sentences and questions. And Paige loved it. And she would come up with her own or whatever. But maybe you should check those out for yourself so you can communicate with McKenna.
Well, I
still
did
know
get
the song.
flashcards. I got flashcards and stuff. And I bought a manual, but she's like really challenging herself. And I even had to bring her a couple years ago. She's always really been, the very first biography she read was Helen Keller. So a few years ago, because I like to pick up strays, I like to pick up people when I go away, I picked up a guy who loves Lisa Vanderpump, and he's deaf. Glorious man. I met him and his husband, Mikey, who has cancer in Houston. Again, with my ex-boyfriend, the one that the psychic said he was gay, and we'd always meet gay couples together.
That is so sweet.
I'm still in friends with him. If you look on my Facebook, it's Michael Lepper. Love him. Glorious. He has such joy. I would say the French word, but I can't after a glass of wine. But joy of life. And so
Oh,
he went to Gaudet University, which is a deaf university in DC. And I took McKenna there to actually visit the grounds because he also had affiliation with Helen Keller. Because again, I have the history twist. And so we actually went there and we took pictures and all that to send to Michael. And now McKenna is working on doing a video for Michael to sign, just tell him that he's not as, or that Lisa has nothing on him.
that is so sweet. She's like his little Jiggy.
Yeah.
That is so sweet. My aunt is actually she's like in her 80s, I think, right now, and she just got a cochlear implant, but she went deaf way back in the 40s, 50s. She got what was it, measles at the time? Like
Yeah.
the
I
high
just did a
fever.
paper on measles.
Yeah, but she's the smartest person on both sides of the family. She's got her, I think, doctorate in library science, and she was an editor for Encyclopedia World Book. We'd always like call her and be, Aunt Lee, how do you do this? What's the answer to this or that? Yeah. Wow, that's
Oh,
amazing.
I was just reading on, did you know the guy who does all the commercials, he's really hot. I want to say, not Luke Wilson. He's really hot. He was in The Gift. Did you see that movie? My kids
No.
loved it. My girls loved it. It's about this little math genius, and the uncle takes custody of her because the mom committed suicide, and he has a custody battle with his mom over this little prodigy. My girls like cried in the theater. They loved the movie. But his
Oh.
wife, his ex-wife, started going deaf because she had the ringing in her ears, and then she started losing her hearing. There's people out there that get ringing in their ears for years.
Oh,
Like,
that's so sad.
it is, like, I know lot like I said, I'm about people watching, but never with, like, a mean intent, but understanding,
Right.
compassion, because like I said, my story with Kiernan is very much a good people watching story. Like, I'm never offended if people come from a good place. I just had someone reach out to me today on Instagram asking me how early Kiernan was diagnosed with his issues because her child is much younger, and what can she do because she's afraid of self-harm and suicide. And I'm not gonna lie, I recently had some issues because of the whole these episodes are kind of more serious, the last one and this one, but I've kinda had a rough time with the Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain thing.
That was to me, I guess it's always shocking. And it's just shocking and it's sad and it's
'Cause you know what
ugh.
it is I looked up to Kate Spade, like, I remember my very first Kate Spade bag, but I also looked up to her and the quotes, and even though she left the company, but I looked up to her as my idealization of, like, her quotes and what I wanted
Mm.
to be about, like, serving pizza on china, and I came from New York, this Sex and the City vibe and all these things, and then the Anthony Bourdain thing was right after, and I've talked to you before about having Kiernan try to commit suicide 6 times, which were 3 major overdoses, a hanging, jump from the building, and I'm missing one.
Ugh.
So then watching that suicide thing play out,
That's gotta be triggering for you,
it's
just the
very
emotions.
triggering. It's very triggering because Kiernan, after Kieran's fall with having a traumatic brain injury, was like a loss to me, and I'm still processing that loss because Kieran will never be the way he used to be.
Mm.
And it's a complicated thing when you lose a child, and it's also complicated when you feel like you don't want to see your child in pain. But I am getting to the funny part of the story. So I've kind of had a shitty week because not only am I processing my retirement, my fear of stability. I think as women we want stability, or when we're single parents we want stability and security with finances and what we're going to do, and so I'm having issues with that. I'm having issues with these 2 back-to-back suicides, and of course you think about, well, what if that had been my child? And you're also thinking about, it brings you back to a time when they tried to commit suicide. It also brings you back to the time of Kiernan not being the same person as he was before. So we're in
Right.
Red Lobster, and I met him on a Monday, and he goes to trauma therapy on Mondays. So by Tuesdays, he's usually really anxious, pacing, very up and down moods. We don't know what
Okay.
we're going to get by Tuesday because he's just gone to therapy on Monday. And so, and again,
Are you burping or crying?
I am hiccuping.
Okay.
I don't burp. I wish I could burp. I don't burp. I have I'm burping challenged.
Actually, I am too, but I just didn't know if I should make fun of you or
No,
comfort
you
you.
can
So
totally make fun of me because I sound like I'm like those cartoon characters with like the hiccup soap suds coming out.
no, it's a little Tony-ish. It's a little Tres Leches cake and street tacos.
Like Tony is like the burp that never happened.
Tony's sister wives. Okay, so you're at Red Lobster enjoying a
Yeah.
good Cheddar Bay biscuit.
So I go to meet him there because he Ubered there from counseling. He doesn't have a license because of medications and his brain injury. And he's
Okay.
working on that so he could drive gators at work. So I go to meet him, and he has his laptop open. And I walk in, and the waitress, because he was waiting for us, was like, "Your son is amazing. You must be an amazing mom to have him come from you. He's such a great young man." I guess he must have been talking to her about his life story. Now, Kieran fell off a building, a fourth-story building, and he has some hearing issues since that accident. So he talks really loud. And he gets frustrated and sometimes will kind of like get mad at himself, but it will project on other people when we say, "Hey, Kieran, tone it down." Like, I can't stand to drive sometimes in the car with him, but he is just sometimes it's too chaotic. So I go in the restaurant. The lady is telling me about how amazing my child is. That's Layla. Do you hear her whining?
Are you sure you're not burping?
No, I swear to God, that's the dog whining right now.
Aw.
So I come in, right, and he is showing me his laptop about his to-do list from school. Now, this is the child that failed a grade, had teachers pass him just to get him the fuck out of their class. He's like, "Mom, I should have listened to you when you were 10. You told me about how lists really relieve anxiety." And then he goes, "I didn't know it, but now I'm so glad I listened to you." And he's showing me this system that he set up organization-wise. Okay, so he gets his calculator out, going through, like, trying to compute what his first paycheck is. So I'm going to be honest with you. I felt like a ray of sunshine came down from that cloud. This is exactly everything I was hoping would start to happen. Kieran would try to care about school, where we've been stressed about him even finishing high school. He has a job. I figured as soon as he turned 18, his dad would just wash his hands of him because he's a lot of work. Basically, every dream, I've given up every part of my life to get us to this point. And I'm not trying to martyr myself. I'm just saying our entire family has made sacrifices for this,
Right, just to be somewhat settled and in a place that's
And
just
this
functional and
Yeah, so as we're talking, and I'm talking loud too because the restaurant volume is starting to kind of get raised, and the acoustics of where we are is almost like a tunnel. So whatever you're saying at one table is kind of getting, if you think about the cheerleading megaphones, it's just kind of echoing down the corridor. So my voice is raising, Kieran's is raising, everything. And the people behind us go, "Shh," like that. Kieran immediately, we stop, we're quiet. And he's like talking to his breath. He's like, "Fuck that. They're like telling us to be quiet, da, da, da." But he's trying to be respectful because he's trying to like rein in his cursing because he learned that was kind of a habit at like a lot of the hospitals and stuff, is a lot of cursing and all that. And he's just like, "Oh, da, da, da." So we're quiet. They start talking mad shit. They're like, "Oh, I made $86. I made more than that when I was even a dishwasher. And what kind of mother is she?" Just talking mad shit.
whoa, wait. Okay, first of all, I'm pissed off. Second of all, how old are these people? Are they
They're like,
teenagers or
no, they're like probably 60s, 50, late 50s, 60s.
are you kidding me?
No, I'm going to tell you right now, I totally did not handle this the best because you're not prepared. And this was really like a parenting moment that it's like watching my kid's high school graduation. Like, my kid has a fucking job. My kid has had 22 hospital stays. My kid has a fucking job and he finally cares about school. Let me enjoy this. And
Yeah.
my kid was just in therapy for an hour after a lot of trauma. So I'm very raw right now. I finally have like a decent meal at this place. And this was the same restaurant that last year Kim was on really bad medication and had just gotten out of a hospital after a year after his fall and used the C word. And I said, "Kieran, that's not appropriate." And totally cursed me out in the middle of Red Lobster. And then he went to a hospital soon after that. But we had already walked into that place nervous to go into a Red Lobster again. You know what I mean? Like, this was already the scene of a crime. And I'm already dealing with, she started talking so much shit about him. And Kieran was so proud of himself. And then she's like talking so much shit within earshot. So Kieran at first was letting it go about him, but as soon as she said something about me, he stood up and was like, "What the fuck are you saying about my mom? Fuck you. We're in a restaurant. Everybody's being loud. What the fuck are you talking about me, my mom like that? She's a wonderful mom." Like, and I'm like, "Kieran, sit down." Because a lot of times in these situations, I didn't agree with him cursing, but the woman was really out of hand. Like, she was attacking him within earshot. And I don't know if she realized the acoustics of where we were sitting was broadcasting what she was saying, just like what we were saying. But then I didn't agree with him cursing, but I also felt like it was really hard for me to hear her say mean things about him and his work ethic and what kind of person was he to be only me. I think she thought he was making $86 a week, but she was putting down his job, and he works really hard. He works at a marina and he's mixing concrete. He's stripping nails out of old piers. Like, I mean, he does a hard labor, and he's very proud of himself that he's done this. And then she's like, "I'm going to fucking call the police. If my brother was here and my uncle and my nephew was here, they're all police. I'm going to fucking call the police." She was looking to start a fight. I was like, "Listen, ma'am," I said, "please don't call the police." She was like that nosy neighbor that probably calls the police on anything, like very trigger happy.
Right.
And her identity is enmeshed with having a nephew who's in the police department or whatever. And I don't want him to ruin a background check based upon her behavior. But I also didn't agree with him cursing either. But she was really out of bounds. So I get him out, and I'm like crying, and I'm sitting at the bench with Bailey, and Bailey immediately is trying to apologize. And she's texting me like, "Mommy, should I apologize for Kieran?" And I was like, "No," because the woman was really out of line. Again, this was 2 weeks ago. So she said a lot of mean shit that they overheard. And then she's sitting in the booth. I'm within earshot waiting for the check. And she's like, "That poor mother. And if my son was or my nephew was here, he'd be in cuffs. And I might still call the police because I'm worried. Like, he seems aggressive." And she's still talking shit within earshot. So I have to listen to the whole conversation.
Oh my God,
And
my blood is
I'm
boiling
going to get
even
her
hearing
tagged. I'm
this.
going to get her tagged so I can call the police. And he must be listening to our conversation when he said that about her. And I'm like, meanwhile, I'm like, "Bitch, you can hear everything we're saying, but I can hear everything you're saying. And he's not intentionally trying to listen to you. The kid is fucking deaf. So he can't even hear the shit unless you're talking loud enough, or the acoustics is making it so he can hear you." And then I'm turning around, and no lie, I'm like crying. I'm like, "Listen, man," I'm like, "I'm just proud. My kid has been in 22 hospitals and he has hearing damage." Oh, and you know what she said? I said, "He fell off a fourth-story balcony." I said, "He's been in hospital for a year. He just fucking got out and he's trying to, like, he has a hearing loss." And this is what she's saying with an earshot of him. "I've gotten hit in the head like 13 times. That's like falling off a building. Who does he think he is to have hearing loss?"
Oh my God. I'd be like, well, that makes fucking sense that you got hit 13 times in
Yeah,
the head,
I'm
you
like, my
fucking
kid should be
goddamn bitch.
Yeah, I'm like, my kid should be fucking dead right now. And again, he has hearing loss. He wasn't even cursing in our conversation because I'm really big about that. And he's really trying. The only time he cursed was in reaction to her. And he was mad at himself for reacting that way. Like the whole time he like journaled, and he stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning to like clean his room and organize it because he doesn't want to be a deadbeat. And he was really mad at himself on reacting to her. But when she made the comment about me, that's when it was like he couldn't filter. But I'm like turning around her, and I'm telling her way too much business because I'm like that crying person. Like, "Listen, ma'am," I'm like, "he has a job and he's exceeding my expectations. And listen, a lot of bad shit happened to him. You have no idea. And he almost died. And listen, we're trying to get him a fucking hearing aid." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "No, I don't know." She's probably meant, "I'm sorry for you." Like at the end of it, she's half apologizing to me, but I'm like, "Are you just apologizing because you feel sorry for me?" But this to you is probably something that you start all the time. And then the
Oh,
waitress is
totally.
really upset, coming after me, like, "What happened? Where did he go? He didn't even say goodbye." Like the waitress and the staff loved him because he was sitting there for a while before I got there. So if I had told them what happened, they probably would have moved them because they had such a good impression of him. The police were getting called, and I was just trying to get him the fuck out of there so that he didn't have some stupid bullshit that would cause me to have lawyer fees, which I can't afford right now, and me over her just trying to like find dramatics or drama. Do you know what I mean?
First of all, I wish I was there because I would have gone off on this freaking stupid ass. Oh, God, I'm like biting my tongue because I don't want to curse too much, but I would have gone off on her. And you know what? Maybe she did need to hear that sometimes you can't just judge what you're looking at or what you're hearing at because you don't know the behind the scenes story. You don't know why people are acting how they're acting, or why a kid is maybe throwing a temper tantrum, or you don't know. So you just keep your fucking mouth shut.
I feel like people need to kind of see he has a warning label or a disclaimer label, getting closer and closer where I don't need to explain it. But times he doesn't act like a normal kid. And I do feel like he needs accommodations. And I think
Right.
that's rough because I think people that have kids that had special needs or accommodations from an earlier age can probably figure out how to navigate these waters, where my kid's special accommodation or special needs didn't need to be navigated until his teenage years. And what do I
Right.
tell? And that woman wouldn't give a fuck about all of his physical bullshit. You know, you're trying to stir up something to look like a cool girl in front of the person you're at dinner with and showing off.
This is where she gets her high. This is her little world. And it is little, like she obviously does not get out much because she's talking about her nephew. And
Yeah.
you need to look into, you need to
No,
look
I know.
into,
Believe me, I get it from all sides.
no, you need to start up into establishing some sort of foundation or some sort of advocacy group for parents and families that are dealing with this.
Yeah, I get it, and I really
There's
feel
definitely
for
a
them, and
need.
I am formulating something for that. Yeah, so I almost got kicked out of Red Lobster, and the police were being called, and I was ducking and weaving on the way home to make sure my tags wouldn't come up because she was calling the police, and then whatever, and I was crying in the middle of Red Lobster.
Weirdo. Well, I had people come after me a little bit recently. This is going to take a total left turn. Change of topics. I hope you don't mind because I need to rant about something. So, I had people kind of come after me a little
Really?
bit on Twitter, not too bad, because I think what I had to say was very legit and you can't freaking argue with it. And I'm sticking to my word. So, I don't know if you saw what's going on with Jeff Lewis. He's on Flipping Out.
Yes, I was dying to hear what your opinion is on this because usually people's judgments are based on their
Assumptions.
prior experience. Yeah, or their prior experience. So for me, with the mental health stuff, or when I'm talking about situations, is usually I'm coming up with my opinions based upon my prior experiences and whether they're right or wrong, my opinions or what I'm asking about. But you're towards the epicenter of this. So I feel like I'm very curious because I have opinions on it too. So I'm like dying to hear from you because you've actually lived this. You've walked those shoes.
Yeah. So, well, in a nutshell, if you don't know what's going on, so Jeff Lewis and Gage, they had a surrogate who gave birth to their daughter, Monroe, a little over a year ago. And it was filmed on Flipping Out, kind of their getting started process and finding her and her going for her IVF to carry their embryo and her pregnancy and the birth. And she is suing either Bravo or the production company. And I'm not sure if Jeff engaged personally because there were portions of the birth that were filmed that she did not consent to. And also that she was humiliated by comments that Jeff and Gage had made. And some of you might not know, but I was a gestational surrogate myself for two male gay couples. And this whole world of surrogacy and IVF is extremely familiar to me because I've lived it twice. And I've seen every season of Flipping Out. I think Jeff is absolutely hilarious. I will still watch the show. I still think he's funny. So I will say that. It's not like I'm turned into this total troll hater. However, when I was watching the episode, when their surrogate, I think her name is Alexandra, when she didn't want to be induced, and that really pissed off Jeff and Gage because they didn't know how to plan their work schedule. And I have to say that kind of bothered me because I'm like, it's still her body. It's still her body. She's still giving birth to you. You're not paying her to deliver on a certain day. You are reimbursing her for her time and effort into carrying your child and carrying a healthy child. That is what you are reimbursing her for. You're not paying her to deliver a product. And that is in their contract. So that is not words I'm putting into it. That is not phrasing I'm choosing to give it. That is in both their contracts that both of them signed. That is very typical. It's very standard. So the comment that Jeff had made was when she was giving birth, he said the least thing that she could have done if she was going to be giving birth, knowing that we were going to be there, is she could have gotten a wax. And it was something along those lines that was not verbatim. And I remember watching that and my jaw dropped and I was like, holy shit, that was a fucking shitty thing to say. And my husband was watching it with me and he doesn't really give a shit about a lot of his stuff. And he was like, ooh, that was really a low blow. So immediately I thought, there's no way the surrogate is going to be okay hearing that. Who would be okay with that comment worldwide being put out there?
I was offended by that comment as a prior pregnant woman. I cannot imagine if I was sharing in this gift of life because I've wanted to be a surrogate. That's why I thought it was so ironic about our connection is that I came very close to becoming a surrogate myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was offended even as being a prior pregnant person. I cannot imagine if I was going through that process with another couple to help with providing the joy of being a parent with them, to have that type of really like very shallow comment to be made, you know?
Yeah, and it wasn't at the expense of, oh, his partner or his friend. You're putting that at the expense of someone who is providing you and giving you life, is creating your family. If it were not for her, you would not have your daughter. You would not. I just, and I think what upset me is a comment I thought was extremely offensive. And I knew, I mean, who would not be upset by that? And immediately I saw people saying, well, my husband and I joked about that during my birth. I mean, it is what it is and blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. It's not her husband. It was not her and her doctor and her friend talking about it. She didn't ask her vagina to be talked about on worldwide TV. She has a family. She has a child. She has another job. And the comments I was seeing at the time, I remember one of them, I forgot what Facebook group it was that it was being talked about. And I guess I was so shocked at most people's reaction of, well, she was getting paid. She knows Jeff. What would she expect? Like, that's just how he is. And that really, I was like shocked that any woman would say that because, first of all, okay, just addressing, well, that's just how Jeff is. Okay, but he didn't have to say it. He could have said, you know what, that was a really insensitive thing, especially after he's holding his newborn child. Like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Can you not have that in there? Second of all, the comment about her being paid, and I remember someone said, well, she was paid handsomely. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, as what the label would be given to me as an experienced surrogate. I've done it twice. I can probably name 10 different surrogates that I know personally off the top of my head. I'm part of surrogate groups and, you know, I know the world. Okay. I'm not going to argue that. I don't feel like I need to defend myself on it. And I know I'm getting a little defensive here, not to you, but I know what surrogates get paid. And I'll just say, depending on where you are in the range, is probably anywhere, if you're a first time surrogate, in mid 20s. And some people say, oh, I had a friend and they got paid like 55,000. Okay, first of all, that is extremely high end. And second of all, surrogates get taxed just like you do on your paycheck. So knock 30% off of that. And if still people were saying, well, that's still a big chunk of money. And to that I say, you're talking a minimum of a year and a half of your life that you are injecting hormones into your body, that you are doing IVF. And if it doesn't work the first time, you're adding another 4 to 5 months to that timeline. A lot of surrogates are with their intended parents, is what you're calling the couple, is having a relationship with them, trying to build their family, trying to get pregnant for at least a year and a half. Sometimes it goes on 3 years before surrogates ever become pregnant. And during that time, you're not getting paid a dime. You do not get paid a dime. You don't start getting reimbursed until you become pregnant. So that's the first thing. You may get reimbursement for like your mileage if you're traveling to fertility clinics. And yeah, you go weekly and you're going, multiple times a week on your own schedule, trying to work it in with kids and your own job and all of that. These are real people, just like all of you listening. So if you were to break it down, you're saying, well, that's still a big chunk of money for just being pregnant. If you break that down hourly, what someone's getting paid, let's say $30,000, 35, maybe 40 on a high end. I personally don't know anyone who's gotten paid that much. Break that down over a year and a half and 2 years. That's below minimum wage. And it's not just the surrogate. You're talking about their husband, their kids, their job, their extended family. Like, it wasn't just me when I was pregnant. It definitely affected my husband and my kids. It definitely affected my brother and my sisters and my in-laws and my parents.
Can I ask you like a really weird question?
Absolutely. I'm total open book.
Because, like I said, I came really close to doing the surrogacy thing. I also came really close to adopting. Worked with an adoption agency. This has always been an area since I was little that I didn't even think I was going to have natural children. Like, I thought that there was something related to this that was my goal or my journey.
Mhm.
And then my sister has infertility issues, and my mom approached me about being her surrogate. Do you think that did carrying another person's child, because this came up when I was dating someone,
Mhm.
when my sister's surrogacy came up, he told me that if I was a s and this didn't go into me not doing it because it was just based upon life and financials at that time. I really could care less what he thought. He said that if I did it, that he would never dated me. He would feel very uncomfortable about me having another person's child. Obviously, to me, it was like a greater good, you know what I mean? Like, this is my sister, you know?
Right.
Do you think that it impacted at all your marital relationship? How did it impact anything relating to that? What was your husband's feelings on it?
He was very supportive because I always thought, this is something I feel like when I'm 60, 70, God willing, I would look back and be like, God, you know what? I really could have done that. I could have done that for someone and I didn't. So I felt like it was something that I would regret if I didn't do it. So he knew that, but was he like, oh yeah, my wife is so sexy. She's carrying someone else's baby? No. I mean, it was strange. And of course, you always get comments when you're out to dinner or wherever you're walking around. I mean, of course, they're assuming it's your own baby. So you just kind of field questions where it's, oh, is it a boy or a girl? And, oh, yeah, you're going to have another one. And you just go along with it because, you're not going to explain to the waiter at Buffalo Wild Wings, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I think for some people it does. I mean, I know other surrogates where their husbands kind of felt a little strange being intimate and that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's a period of time where you have to sign a contract where you cannot be intimate with each other.
Oh,
Um,
that's what I'm curious about.
yeah.
That actually comes up in the contract?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get a
But
contract.
I think going into you probably always knew that with me, it was always like a calling. Like, I was either gonna adopt or I was going to help another family. Like, I always kinda knew there was something in this area I was going to do, and I've always been upfront. My ex-husband, thankfully, was very supportive,
Mhm.
or not indifferent, but supportive or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just kinda always knew. Dave probably wasn't surprised when you were like, "Hey, this is something I wanna do, is help a couple that can't have children to have a child." No?
No, he wasn't too surprised, but it's not something I just decided on a whim. I mean, I kind of thought about it, tossed it around in my own head for about a year and a half before I ever even Googled it. Like, it was just like one of these passing things. Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to look into it and see and inquire at a couple agencies and that kind of stuff. And, you know, I I really feel for their surrogate because I feel like she was put in a situation. Of course, she knew she was going to be caring for a couple that was on TV, absolutely, but she didn't sign up to have her body mocked. I think it was a really shitty comment that he made, and I know a lot of her issue is that the birth was filmed and she didn't want it filmed, but I knew from just watching that when they were talking about they were kind of pissed off that she didn't want to be induced. I knew her watching that she would be upset watching it. I would have been very upset watching that had I been carrying someone else's baby. And sorry it doesn't work out with your work schedule, but pretty soon life is not going to be working with your work schedule with a newborn baby. What I think people need to realize when they say, well, that's just Jeff's sense of humor. I mean, she got paid. What does she expect? The whole job. That's what someone came back at me on Instagram and said, well, duh, the whole point of the job has to do with her vagina. What did she expect? And
That is really ignorant.
this came
I
from a female. And at first I said the same thing. I just said, well, that's one of the most ignorant things I've ever heard in my life. But here's the thing. To that, I say, okay, because she got, and I don't even like saying she got paid, she got reimbursed for her time and her energy. And her effort put into building their family. It's not like she just walked in and was like, hey, put it in there. I mean, you cannot do this just for the money, first of all. You cannot. What you put your body through for 6 to 8 months before you even hopefully become pregnant when you have that IVF procedure, you can't do that just for the money because
Did
you're
you
not
give
even
yourself
getting
shots and
reimbursed.
stuff?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you go through
See, that's what I'm
full.
saying. I don't feel like it's monetary. The monetary helps you break even, basically.
Oh,
Do you know what
and
I mean? Like, it's just taking care of your costs. There is no profit there. Do you know what I mean? There's no profit.
no. And again, you're taxed. Most
And
agencies,
you've
you're
had
taxed the
polar
same.
opposite experiences where you've had an experience where the person was felt like you were bringing forth this life.
Hmm.
And then you've had an experience where you felt like you were hired help. You're not hired help. You're a person.
And you know what? Going into that, you are supposed to be honest with how you would like your relationship to be during and after and all that. And you know what? Life happens and sometimes, things change and relationships evolve and change. And that's just the seasons of life. But that comment that he made, and people are saying, well, it's just a joke. That's how Jeff is. But to that, I say, so would it be okay if your boss or the company that you work for is okay talking about your vagina because they pay your paycheck? Would it be okay for you if your male boss said whatever they wanted to say about your hairy bush because they cut you a check? It would be
Not only that, but
it would be a hell no, right?
I would be fucking pissed if my husband even said that during my birth. I was on bed rest with 3 of the kids, with all 3 of my pregnancies, and I also did not get epidurals because where I was at in the military, they didn't have epidurals at the hospital, so I had to have natural births. And I cannot imagine, like, my one daughter, I had pneumonia when I gave birth. I cannot imagine it would be an inappropriate comment even for somebody that was not work related to make a comment like that.
Yeah, and then he went on Instagram and said his response, it was just like a picture of him in the article that's in Vanity Fair, a snapshot, and it just said, well, I guess we won't be using her again. And I
I
was like,
know.
well, if that's just not showing you exactly what she's saying is correct, I don't know what does.
Just like his money came too easy to hire a surrogate. He didn't go through years of infertility. He decided, I'm gonna get a child, I'm gonna go buy a child, I'm gonna go rent out a body.
I think that's what it comes down to is sometimes
And
it's
I
just too easy for some couples and they don't really see what the surrogate. And again, I'm not gonna I signed up the contract to do it. I get it. But that doesn't mean that what you're putting your body through and your hormones and your family is any less, just like you're respecting the intended parents who are wanting and loving and desiring a child. That's why we're doing it. We're not doing it for a paycheck. Because I'll tell you what, I could earn whatever amount, probably double that in 9 to 12 months. You know what I mean? Like it's not about, you could very easily make that money in a minimum wage job, if not more.
No, you have to do it for the love. Same with, like, even the Kardashian baby. I don't think she was made, like, a ton of money, for the last one, because even her
Yeah, let's
privacy.
dispel that myth. If you, because I know a surrogate who knows other surrogates who carried for very popular stars, and I'll tell you off the air. And they do
Yeah.
not make any more than anyone else.
No, and even with you, you kinda gave a discount rate because you were the type, you're like, "Oh, I feel really bad. I'm not gonna ask him for
Yeah.
childcare, and I'm not gonna ask him for this, and I just am happy for them, and I wanna do this for them." You are like me, where we don't always take care of ourselves, so I
Mm,
don't I just think what he said was really, really out of line, and then this is what I was saying before. He had a lot of issues with his daughter the first year they had her, and I wonder
mhm.
if this whole surrogacy process was so easy for him to basically go get somebody and then have a baby and then to
Oh,
make these, like,
absolutely.
very shallow comments does that really prepare you then for the first year of life? Because he was complaining about how difficult she was and all that. It's like, yeah, you had an basically easy life, that you were only complaining that her vag was not shaved, about the bush. And not for nothing, he is older, so he should know that they did not really trim up in the 1970s or 80s or
But
whatever.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. How does she go back to work? I mean, that does damage you because You know,
You're
if
having a
someone
fucking baby. There's a head coming out of there. I didn't look like what I do now. I tore with all 3 kids. I look nothing. I had to have surgery after one of my babies because I didn't look human
but
down
here's the
there.
thing, he did not think, and he didn't say that comment as she was giving birth. It was afterwards, right? I mean, this was filmed after the baby was born. So he's had time to think about it and to see that child and say, wow, what a miracle. I'm so blessed that I have had this child birthed into this world, and what a miracle. But he still chose to say it, which to me just lacks complete empathy. How does that woman go to work, or she has children, her children's friends, her child, those friends' parents, every time they see her, they're just going to be thinking about that. And you might say, okay, well, that's really shallow. Who cares? People get over it. But you know what? Maybe she doesn't. Let's say she has a very important job. If you were to walk into a boardroom with higher ups in the Air Force and they know about that, are they going to look at
Oh,
you in the
and a
same way?
lot of
Probably not.
military wives do it because of TRICARE. They like to have the insurance that we have.
Yes. Can I mention something about the insurance? Because a lot of people say, oh, and all of the intended parents or the parents, they pay for everything. I'm going to say, well, first of all, there are only a handful of surrogacy friendly states in the US, which is why a lot of couples will have surrogates from different states. Illinois is a very surrogacy friendly state. For example, Michigan is not. So when you are a surrogate, you each have your own attorneys. Everyone's representing you have, a contract that's an inch thick. It goes over every possible scenario. If I were to become a vegetable, at what point would I consent for myself just to be a vegetable and allow the baby to grow? I mean, you go over every single likelihood. So for in different states, for example, in Michigan, my attorney was like, it would be you, me, the intended parents, the baby, the doctor, we'd all be in a jail cell. So first of all, there's certain states where you can be a surrogate. Totally forgetting where I'm
No,
going
we're
with
just talking
this,
about
but
how hard it is.
um,
This is not like a lucrative job career. You can't pick this as your career.
oh, with the insurance. So with the insurance, all of my pregnancy was through my insurance, as it is with most surrogates. 99, I would say probably 90%, unless the surrogate's insurance has a surrogacy or pregnancy clause in it, which most of them don't. And in that case, the intended parents will purchase an insurance policy. So I'm going to probably say that this woman had insurance, and a lot of intended parents will want to know what type of insurance policy their surrogate has because they want a surrogate with very good insurance, which is why what you're saying, the military has good insurance for pregnant spouses. So a lot will do that. So it likely went through her insurance. Now, will her copays be reimbursed by the intended couple? Yes, which I don't think is out of line. You wouldn't be at the doctor had it not been for their child. But no, it still goes through their insurance and all that. So it's not as if being a surrogate is just like this lottery. It is not. Am I saying it's a punishment? Absolutely not. But I'm just saying, I think she deserved a lot more respect, a lot more empathy, perhaps even an apology from Jeff, which had she gotten one, I don't think she'd probably be naming him in a lawsuit. And I think his follow up just says a
Oh,
lot
he was
about his
saying that it's
character.
her way of shaking down for money. I'm like, this would be even more embarrassing for me to have to point out these things in a lawsuit and knowing that you're such a loudmouth than to. And again,
Right.
I didn't disagree with him about Heather Dubrow and the way they treat staff. Again, but I feel like you made a bunch
He's
of.
not talking about her genitalia. To me, that's
Yeah, that's
completely
even more
different.
embarrassing. So the fact that you have to put it in a lawsuit, which I think should have a gag order on it, I do not look like anything. If you were to take pictures of my genitalia now and then, you would not pick me out of lineup. I know how, and I'm very, very, very prudish, and I had to have surgery. I locked myself in the bathroom on my 3rd delivery and refused to come out because I was like, I don't want to have this baby right now. I'm really embarrassed. Again, I'm having hiccups. I'm really embarrassed besides of having hiccups, but I was not ready to have the baby because I was having issues down there. I cannot imagine she's not trying to shake you down for money when she's already really embarrassed by comments you made about her. I do think he should be checked. This is not Bravo TV. This is not reality show. You embraced a life that you otherwise could not have had naturally. Have some class about it and a respect.
I mean, well, one thing was if she said that didn't want it filmed and it was filmed and things had been taken down, obviously there was something that crossed the line and that was breached. And that has to do with her and the production company or whoever recorded it. And second of all, if he knows that he has a larger platform. And so there's no way that she would not be hesitant and scared of what he's going to say because people are going to listen to him and they're going to say exactly what they're saying. Oh, he's Jeff and whatever. And again, I still think he's funny. I will still watch the show, but I feel like it can go both ways. I think I can say he really fucked up and he acted like a real piece of shit saying that and following through on that on social media, but I'll still watch the show, but I can still think he's a horrible person in that respect and in what he
Don't we watch
said.
the show because
Do,
most of them are horrible people?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think he's a horrible person. I think in that respect, maybe just look at that child and say, if it weren't for this person, this child would not be here, or at least value or put some sort of value on that. And would he want someone talking about Monroe's vagina like that? Or would he have an issue with it? I tend to believe he would probably have an issue with it and file a lawsuit
It should
himself.
be like the altar. It should be like the golden vagina. I'm sorry. If like with my sister, I would be like, bitch, this isn't the golden vagina. This is your baby. I am so happy, but at least give me some crackers or something. Like at least make me feel okay because I'm a hot mess when I'm pregnant.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like it is, and again, I may be a little biased based on my own experience. And if you want to know more, you can sign up for my Patreon. But, I feel like it is always, I'm going to use a big word and I don't know if I'm using it right, incumbent upon the surrogate to always take the higher road, be the bigger person. And you're already being so fucking selfless. And you're just supposed to swallow this other punch to the gut, but Jeff
Do you
doesn't
think
have
he's being
to. Where I
sexist?
feel like in this, oh yeah, probably. Yeah.
Because he
Would he
doesn't have
want
an
someone talking
experience of
about,
being with a woman. So it's to him, he's just like, the vagina's only as good as give birth. You know what I mean?
what he might say is, well, I would say this, I would joke around about Jenny's crotch or Zoila's crotch or whatever, but they're close. They have a relationship like that. Clearly, he did not even attempt to build that type of relationship with his surrogate. And I felt that when I was watching the series, that Gage was much closer with her than he was.
Paige was also the one that was more involved with her parenting too, the first year. He sounded like he was more of the nurturing kind.
And can I just say, when they said, oh, she's just, such a difficult infant, I don't think she was any more difficult than my two. I had extremely difficult infants too. I think a lot of that, and you can't parent judge because you don't know, what everyone's going through in the middle of the night when their kid is up and crying and screaming. But to me, I was like, yeah, it's a baby who cries a lot. There's babies who cry a lot. And that's life. It's tough. It stinks when you have a fussy baby, or a difficult baby, but it happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, we had a tough time with McKenna like that, but I felt like with Pat, he didn't understand that I was pregnant through the process.
Hmm.
It wasn't real to him till we had the baby. I think he was better during the third pregnancy. I don't really remember much of it, but the second one, I just felt frustrated with him because it wasn't real to him. Like my body was going through all these changes, but it did become
Hmm.
real to him during the delivery. And that's why I'm so shocked. I could see if Jeff was making some really ignorant comments through the pregnancy because it's not real to him because there's no baby there. It's not real. It's not tangible. Your body's going through all these changes, but to actually make them about the delivery, I was shocked because Pat, who can be judgy in his way, and
Hmm.
he's autistic light in his way, and he'll admit that, but he never made comments about the actual delivery to me, and I think he was better the third time around because he didn't understand when I wanted to sleep all the time, or he didn't understand my roller coaster of emotions, or I was very, very industrious. I actually went into labor because I was moving ceramic tile. I was super, super clean, but I threw up and was, had pneumonia and all that. But I
Hmm.
could see if Jeff made those comments during pregnancy, but it's the delivery. It's the tangible portion where you're bringing forward your baby, you know?
Right. Well, and it was
Like I
afterwards,
said,
right? I mean,
I'm trying to come up with,
yeah.
like, excuses why he said these things, you know?
I just feel like this was his opportunity to be the bigger person instead of her having to be the bigger person all the time, which I tend to believe, just knowing my experience, knowing a lot of different surrogates experience, is it's really not until after you give birth that you see the type of relationship that you're going to have, right? So I probably think for her, she had probably thought that there was going to be a certain type of relationship afterward. And hey, things change. Like you don't sign a contract saying a certain thing is going to happen afterwards. But it was probably how she was treated, probably felt a little unappreciated. And, finally being like, it wasn't okay that it was filmed and it wasn't okay. This did affect my life. What am I going to do with this, and this? And he could have been the bigger person too at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get that, in my second delivery with my second surrogacy, they just kind of like took the baby and left and there was no thank you and I saw them the next day because typically the couples will stay at the hospital with their baby just in a separate room because they can't release the baby, obviously, until they're a couple days old. And they were like, yeah, you can come on down and see the baby. They didn't even get like, hey, okay, me and my mesh underwear and diaper between my crotch will waddle on down the hall and come and see you like I'm visiting your dorm room. So I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a
I
matter
want to
of
save that for your Patreon because that's for people. I feel like Patreon isn't just like
it's a safe
monetary.
place.
It's a safe place because people actually want to. They're not there to judge. They're there. They actually care.
Yeah.
It's a safe. The only thing I have a question about is in those contracts because, like, again,
Mm-hmm.
my surrogacy story was going to be with my sister, so I felt, and I'm the older sister, so I felt like she couldn't really say too much to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can they dictate what type of pain meds and all that through the delivery or the delivery experience with you?
They can request that, but they can request that, but they can't be in there because ultimately, well, I guess it could be if the surrogate agreed to it, but you would say, I want to have an epidural. Well, right off the bat, a lot of surrogates will not be chosen or will be rejected if you have had a C-sections. Because your scarring in your uterus can sometimes make it more difficult for an embryo to implant. Sometimes that will just disqualify you right away. Some couples won't care. Some intended parents won't care. And some endocrinologists or reproductive REs won't care. The RE that we use, the reproductive endocrinologist, was actually the same doctor that Juliana Rancic and Bill Rancic used their first go
No
around when she got
way.
pregnant. Yeah, downtown Chicago. I have like 2 degrees of vaginal separation from me and Juliana Rancic, but
You had the same person see the same batch.
that's
That is
right.
like really
That's
close.
right. And so, but you can't necessarily say you can and can't. I guess it's ultimately up to the surrogate because it's still technically it's your body, it is your birth. So,
I can imagine what Princess Kate went through.
oh
Like,
God,
did
can you
she feel like she
imagine?
had to be stoic and not make noises? Because she's always on. She's always the princess.
I bet you she has a good relationship with her OB.
She had like a bunch of people in there, like a whole team.
Yeah, I didn't want that. I just wanted my husband and I. I didn't even have my mom or anything.
See, the first time around, I had a whole team and I had the old movie camera with the spotlight because it was 20 years ago videotaping.
Oh
Like it
wow.
looked like a legit Bravo TV. I was just missing the boom mic. But my other deliveries were just me and Patrick because the hospital was a small army hospital, no
Mm.
epidurals, and they kicked out anybody other than your spouse.
Oh
We
my
weren't allowed to
gosh.
have anyone. And he went out to lunch. He was so excited to tell people, and I was all by myself for the second one. Then the third one, I locked myself in the bathroom and refused to come out.
Oh, that was like my first 2 with my own kids. Dave was like, I'm gonna go get something to eat. And I'm like, just please come back. Please come back. No, he just like sat there and lunch. I was so pissed off. But no, my third delivery, which was my first surrogacy, because I have 2 of my own kids and I had 2 surro babies. The epidural didn't take in time, so I felt every bit of that one. But I could say the intended parents, you have a plan of them being there in the delivery room, but it kind of gets iffy when in your contract. Again, I mean, when I say every scenario is covered in the contract, every scenario is covered. If you're talking about an emergency C-section, then it's normally you kind of default to hospital policy. So in my case, intended parents wanted to be there. The second go around, they wanted to be in the room if there's an emergency C-section, but our hospital policy was 1 person, even for doctors, everyone working there. And my OB was like, it's got to be your husband because God forbid something go haywire. You want a person there who's going to be your medical advocate kind of a thing. So thankfully we didn't have to go down that route, but there are certain things that you can plan for. In some surrogacy contracts, you'll have, are you going to breastfeed or pump? Most often, it'll be that you pump for colostrum or that you provide breast milk for a certain amount of days or weeks or months. I did not do that just because, my opinion, breastfeeding is very easy for some people. It was not for me. So,
No, it wasn't for me either.
yeah, it was just prolong it. And I wanted to be able to heal and get back to my kids and my life and just for those families to be able to bond and,
Can I tell you something that
yeah.
cannot go beyond us?
And our 3 people listening, yes.
Yeah. I had a doctor come in to talk to me about my inverted nipple. I had like an inverted nipple intervention.
Are they inverted now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think that's a yes.
No, I'm looking at no, not now.
Okay, Carrie, pull over your shirt, look down your bra.
I know
Do you
I
have
did,
inverted nipples?
but at that time, he was like, "If you don't want to," but he kept pressuring me to breastfeed, and then the nurse came in and was like, "Listen, motherfucker, she got an inverted nipple. Like, lay off."
So what do you have to like try to pop it out or it just stays in?
No, it's not like that really anymore. Maybe I'm just cold all the time, but back then, I had like one inverted nipple. Like, it was just a little shy.
Oh, it was cold.
And then, like, with
No, it
my
was not cold. It was
daughters,
hot.
they're developing, because I don't want to be all up in their business. But, McKenna's already kind of like feeling out her body. We're talking about female hygiene and stuff. Yeah, I had an inverted nipple and I had to have an inverted nipple intervention because the doctor would not fucking lay off the pediatrician doctor until the nurse told him.
Oh, your little Annie.
Yeah, I had like a little innie and it was just a little shyer.
It totally reminded me, you know what is so mean? One of my best friends, we're still best friends this day. Besides you, Carrie, you're like my,
We're ride or die bitches.
yeah, we call each other our non-lesbian life partners, which is nothing wrong with lesbian. We're just not. So
we're raising a African orphan together already.
no, like she really is.
We are. He's back to school, by the way. The school opened back up.
Will you share his name or should we protect his privacy?
No, we can share the name because they don't know the last name.
Oh, what is it?
McSidney. That's our boy.
McSid. Oh.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know he has 2 mommies.
He does.
No, but one of my best friends, we used to call her Nip because she always had like 2 erect nipples.
I did not have that issue. I did not have that issue.
Oh my God. We were just saying, I was like, holy shit, we were such bitches. We called you Nip. Like to her face. Like she knew it was her nickname.
See, that's the thing though, is that when I was growing up, they didn't tell you about body parts. So I didn't know what like a not normal, but vaginas all look different. What was normal nipples? Do you get hair on your nipples? Do you not? Do you get hair on your belly button? Like I always have one stray hair that comes out of my belly button that I'm always plucking.
Really?
Yeah, it's like one stray hair. And so it's like with my daughter, with her having body, I talk to you because this is a safe space. And the part of the reason why I talk about my body so much is I did have a very rapid weight gain, but the military has really come down on me about my body. And I didn't have negative body issues in my 20s and even my early 30s. But I feel like now, and then I went out with a couple guys who told me I was fat or fatter. Now I've developed body issues, which I never had when I was younger. It just wasn't, I didn't have a perfect body, but it wasn't at the top of my priority list. And then it's like with McKenna, I'm starting to see where she didn't eat breakfast this morning and she lied to me about it. And she wasn't going to make lunch unless I had like made it for her. And like Kieran didn't eat lunch in the cafeterias and wouldn't eat in front of other people. So poor McKenna's, we're already super sensitive about those issues starting with her. And then on top of it, I don't want her to feel like how I felt about the body issues I did have, like the straight hair on my belly or about my eyebrows. I was in the basic training. I would go in the bathroom after 9 o'clock at night when it was curfew, and I'd be plucking my eyebrows in the mirror. Like the things that I had, the body issues were not about weight, but they were other things because if my eyebrows weren't plucked, then it would make my nose look bigger. My body issues were my face or other things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Right. If you didn't have your eyebrows plucked,
Yeah, like she's self-conscious. She won't wear shorts because her thighs are hairy. Or she won't wear sandals because her toes are hairy.
You ruined my joke. I was going to say you had to pluck your eyebrows so your nipple didn't look so inny.
I know, exactly. It would offset it because we did have to shower with 50 other girls.
Oh God, hell no.
Yeah, we would go to a car wash of the shower heads, and Saturdays we would shave on Saturdays. But yeah, all 50 girls would be in the shower together. So totally know the experience of dropping the soap. I remember
Mm.
this was back before military got PC. We got locked in the bathroom and being accused of being quote unquote dykes. I went through that whole experience. Today's military is nothing like that, but we totally were accused of that because of our activities in the dorm room. I cried when I got locked in the bathroom in the dark, though. I was like, "Oh my god, this is scary because they have total control over us."
I would cry in the bathroom, just crying in the bathroom, having to shower with 50 women.
And because you didn't wanna use the other stalls because they were in inspection order, so we would only use for 50 girls. We would use 2 stalls, and the latrine queen would monitor that, and then we would run out of toilet paper, so we would smuggle napkins from the chow hall.
Oh my God, I would not
Again, this is
last.
20 years ago, so it was very not as PC. That song, "Come On Irene," every time it comes on, I get really scared because our TI, she would play that song 'cause her first name was Irene, and she would, like, lock us in the bathroom and call us names, or she would totally throw shit in the dorm or pour water on us when we were sleeping. Like, when that song would come on, we knew shit was about to go down.
Wait, hold on a second. You know it's Come On Eileen,
Yeah,
right?
whatever that song is, whatever it is,
Oh,
I changed the station because I still have, like, PTSD. I start developing twitches.
okay, you said Come On Irene, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Come On Eileen.
Whatever song that is.
I bet her name was
It
Irene,
probably
and she
was, but
played
she
Come On
adapted.
Eileen.
I think so. I'm gonna look this up now because I think her name was Irene. And now I think she adapted that song. She didn't even get it right.
I'm gonna love if you are 30 years out, 20 years out, and you've been having
Oh, it's
PTSD about.
Irene, and her name was Irene.
Okay, so can you put that trauma behind you now? Now the song is
I think I
separate.
am because that whole time that's when that song would come on, and I was like, "Oh, shit's going down. This is not gonna be good. Somebody's gonna end up locked in the bathroom." We end up having to have double because we'd have to have night guard. We end up having to have double night guard because one kid committed suicide of my other TI when he was on post. Now, maybe that was like an old wives' tale, but we knew that guy got in trouble because he slapped a kid or he hit a kid when he was on duty and got put back out to the field.
Okay, I think we've officially turned this episode into the darkest episode
Yeah,
of
I know.
Moms on the Rocks ever.
I know, we're talking about Red Lobster, police, and then
Surrogacy gone wrong or whatever.
now we're talking about, like, really bad PTSD stories from basic training.
Maybe that's a really good place to wrap it up for today. So if you want to hear more about Carrie's mishaps with Come On Irene, you
I
can
know.
find
That
Carrie.
just ruined my whole, like, 20 years of memories.
All right, so where can
That's
they
your
find?
5 on 2.
Okay, we're even now. We're even now, Irene. All right, where can they find you, Carrie?
At Sipshine Pod, at Facebook, Insta, Twitter. I have a really weak Facebook group because I just launched it and we have no game, but you seriously have to join Jodie's because I do pop in there occasionally. And then other times I'm like, okay, reel it back. My social anxiety erupts and I will roll up the window, but yours is really fun. So I'm going to make you say that one this episode.
Oh, I'm totally going to brag and agree with you because honestly, my Facebook group is full of the funniest, smartest, snarkiest women. It's amazing.
And they're
I'm
so nice. There's no like bullying in there.
yeah, knock on wood, it's not high drama. People don't take stuff seriously like some of these other bigger Facebook groups that people just go nuts and start getting banned and all that crap. So yeah, it's at Reality TV Pod. That's Twitter, Instagram. And if you go to Facebook, it's just facebook.com/groups/Reality TV Pod, or you just search Reality TV Pod and it'll come up Orchard of Snark. So yeah, and if you want to talk with both of us at the same time, Carrie, where are we again?
At Moms OTR at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yep, that sounds about right. Okay, we still need, well, we know Carrie's nipples are innie, but we need an outie at the end of each
I have
show.
one innie, one outie, okay?
Yeah, oh, they are nips in and out. Okay, well, we'll have to come up with something clever. Maybe your nipples will send you some inspiration
Yeah,
tonight.
our outro today will be like, get your nips out, or there's nothing wrong with an innie.
There you go. Your nipples are now going to be our
It's winking
mascot.
at you, Jodie. It's winking at you.
All right, wink, wink. All right, until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Later.